Welcome to the information session for the Newark Arts Festival 2023, Cross-Cultural Perspectives, and a 50th anniversary celebration of hip hop. So I'd like to introduce our team to you. First, I'm not sure she's on camera, Lauren LeBeau, who is our marketing director and director of artistic initiatives. Cindy Sanchez, Arts Festival graphic designer. Sharon Lopez, who is the producer of the Newark Arts Festival. Daryl Stewart, who is our producer of performing arts and our curator. Adrian Wheeler, I don't see Adrian, but oh, there you are, Adrian. Adrian is our curator of visual arts at the Newark Museum of Art. And we have Malcolm Rawling and Andrew Binger, who will be our hip hop curators. Welcome, welcome, City of Newark artists, curators. We're so happy to see you. We are so excited about this year's festival. We are working behind the scenes to try to get things together and work things out for you. We are excited about what you will do this year in the festival, and we're looking forward to supporting you. And with that, I will turn it over to Adrian Wheeler, who is our visual arts curator, who will talk to you about the process for submitting for the visual arts.
Okay, unmuted. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Excited to see so many friends here, and I see some new names. I don't see any faces. There are many faces I don't see, but I do see new names. So if you've seen the submissions, and I did see one submission come in already. So for the visual arts component, we have one location, and that's going to be the Newark Museum of Art. We have additional spaces within the museum, but that will be the only location that we're managing for the festival. When you go to the submissions, you'll see the different areas for visual arts that are included. So we have photography, mixed media, and of course, mixed media does include sculpture. So please submit sculpture if you'd like. Photography, video art, two-dimensional work, paintings, drawings, print work. So I look forward to seeing a lot of your work. I'm just going to go over some of the things that are already in the submission. We're asking that you only submit work that will be available for the festival. We've had experiences in the past where people submit one body of work and then we choose that work and something else is delivered. So just know that whatever we accept, if something else shows up when we're intaking work, it won't be included. I guess that's about it for like real housekeeping sort of strict things. Hopefully you all have had a chance to look at the description, the theme for this year, cross-cultural perspectives, and we have a special focus on celebrating Newark artists who have made a contribution to hip hop. So our themes are both broad and specific, and you're not bound by any, particular theme one way or the other. Cross-cultural perspectives, I think, is pretty open and self-explanatory, and we really look forward to seeing all of the submissions and contributions from all of the artists. In terms of hip hop perspectives, hip hop contributions and celebration, please feel free. If you have work that speaks to that theme, absolutely you should submit. If you want to create work specifically for that, that would be wonderful as well, but you're under no obligation to be on theme for that necessarily. And I guess if you have any questions, are we going to save questions until everyone has gone?
We're going to save questions until the end, but Adrian, can you talk a little bit about the different mediums and the best way to deliver your work to the museum and just any of the logistical information?
So the best way to deliver the work is wrapped properly. I can't emphasize that enough.
Which means what?
I've seen, Well, first, let me say what it doesn't mean, because I've seen people come with work in, I joke and say worked in aluminum, wrapped in aluminum foil, but just wrapped in plastic bags. The work should be secure. So if it's sculpture and you have an opportunity to have some sort of box made for it, but you must take it back. We're not storing anything at the museum. We're not storing anything at Newark Arts. So when you drop the work off, you take your packing materials with you and then bring them back, because we can't guarantee that they'll still be there when you come to retrieve the work. Good solid cardboard works wrapped in bubble wrap and then put into cardboard. I don't recommend necessarily heavy wood crates unless it's that kind of sculpture that is so delicate, that it really needs that kind of packing, in which case we probably would have to make special arrangements to have someone meet you with that work to unpack it and help you get just the crate itself in and out of the museum.
And Adrian, what about alternative mediums like video and one video? And also, what if artists want to apply in a collective and they're not applying as individual artists?
Okay, so we do have that category that for artists working within a collective. So collective technically is defined as a group of artists who are not necessarily working on one piece together, which would be collaborative work, but artists who seem to work around a similar theme, working individually, but around a similar theme within an organized group. If you are part of a group that is going to submit, just submit with your group, not submitting with your group and then submitting individually. Because if your work is accepted through your group, the individual work will not be selected. So you have to make a decision, which way you're going to submit your work. But we do welcome collectives.
And Adrian, before you answer the media question, someone asked in the chat, but if we are dropping work off, how do we not leave packing materials?
You have to make that decision. If you're dropping work off, you have to decide how you're going to deliver your work and take your packing materials back with you. The work will be unpacked on site so that you can take the work, you can take the materials that day. And then you were asking about what you said, alternative media. So video installation, as in video that's shown on a monitor, you'll have to supply the monitor. There was a projector last year. I don't know this year whether or not that space is still set up the same way and whether or not the projector is there and how efficiently it's working, because we did have a few problems with the visibility with that particular, and I don't know whether it was the file or the projector or the wall or a combination of the three. But by the time we start accepting and receiving work, we'll have all of those things worked out.
Is digital work accepted?
So when you say digital work, you mean work that's been digitally printed?
That's from Antoinette. Antoinette, do you want to ask directly?
Yeah, thank you. It's digitally printed, but created digitally with your own work. So collaging your own work, digitizing, and then digitally printing the work.
Okay, so we've had, first, let me say yes, it's accepted. But let me say this, we've had work submitted and people thought it was original work and offered to purchase it and then found out that it wasn't original work and then backed out of the sale. So it has to be very clearly marked that it is digital media.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Personally, I prefer original works, but it's acceptable.
Adrian, is there anything else that you want to share with the visual artists? Anything that you want to, any hiccups from last year that you want to avoid aside from the drop off and the pickup? Anything you want them to think about?
Not that I can think of right now, and I'm sure as questions come up, maybe some of those issues will arise as well, but I can't think of anything right now.
And I see another question in the chat. It says, can you clarify cross-cultural? Is that what I'm presenting? Is it that what I'm presenting has to speak to more than one culture? Or is it just that my work reflects aspects of my cultural identity? And I'm going to let all the curators answer this. I'll just say quickly, it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I think we chose that theme, one, because we must have a theme, but we thought it allowed the greatest amount of flexibility for artists. I mean, so that you wouldn't have to be working within a theme, have to stay on theme, have to start producing work. You know, some people can produce work overnight, others it takes months, even years to produce work. So we were not trying to put those sort of constraints on artists. So I think all of the above. Yes, the work can reflect your individual culture or cultural perspective. It can reflect how other cultures influence your perspective on art, life. So it's not meant to add any constraints of any kind.
Sharon, did you want to share anything? You're on mute, Sharon.
No, I was just pointing out that there were a couple more questions in the chat. If you want to deal with them now, or if you want to come back to them later, that's all.
I think Lauren is answering them. There's a question from Charles. Where are submissions due to be added on the website? The festival does not currently have 2023 listed. Our applications meant to be done in artist opportunities. And Lauren did answer that you can go to newarkartsfestival.com and the calls are at newarkarts.submittable.com. Does that answer your question, Charles?
It sure does. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Adrian.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Next, Daryl Stewart, who is our curator of performing arts. Daryl, what's in store this year?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining, for being here. Super excited to continue growing sort of the performing arts offerings for the festival. Those of you who have been to the festival years prior, you know that this is something that has been introduced and we're kind of growing and growing and growing. And so I'm really excited to see so many different names and faces, and I'm hoping that we'll get as many proposals as possible. So when thinking about intention, I will say my big intention as a performing arts curator is all about inclusivity. It's all about new ideas. It's all about new voices. It's all about leveling the playing field. I am as equally interested in dance as I am in music, as I am in theater, as I am in creative writing, as I am in poetry, as I am in slam poetry, as I am in film. I love them all. I see the value in all of them, and I'm hopeful that we can include as much as possible. There are 3 ways to be involved in Newark Arts Festival from the performing arts perspective. The first way that I want to touch on is self-producing. Okay, this is how I got involved in the festival, and quite frankly, this is the most free, independent way to produce during the festival. You simply self-produce your event. You figure out what you want to do. You identify a location that feels like a good fit for what you're trying to do. Oftentimes, I encourage self-producers to find an intimate venue so that you don't have so much overhead or you don't have so many seats to fill, right? If it's your first time coming out of the bag, maybe you choose a small cafe and your goal is to sell 50 tickets and fill that cafe. Or if you're someone like myself who's doing this on a larger scale, you may need a bigger venue. So the first thing that I would do for self-producers is identify your who, what, when, where, and how. Who's doing it? What are you doing? When is it? Where is it? How much is it? Once you have that, then you can run. So, okay, Daryl, I want to self-produce my event. Where do I go on the listings? You would simply request to be listed as a Newark Arts Festival participant. You would not have to worry about any of the other forms or filling out any of the other things. You would simply just have a listing, submit a listing through the submittable for your event. We'll include it. We'll reach out if there are opportunities to market it. If there are other folks who are doing similar work and we want to connect you, we'll connect you. But we will support you and we will do our best to ensure that your event is successful. We don't want 5 poetry slams happening all on Friday night. We want a different poetry slam on each night, right? So some of this will be collaborative in terms of the way that we lay out the festival. So it is important, even if you are going to do your own thing, to be sure to fill out that listing so that we know that your event is happening and we can plan the layout of the festival in a way that feels inclusive to what you're doing. So that's the first way. You're going to go out there, you're going to find a space, you're going to create your one-person show, and you're going to do it at the Springfield Avenue coffee shop, and you're going to sell it out, and it's going to be amazing. But let's just say you don't have a space in mind, or maybe you're a larger arts organization or a collective or an experienced performer, and you feel like, I really want the festival to kind of place me, right? The second option is the request for performing arts proposal. So that's where you would go. All of our large, medium-sized organizations, our collectives, we want you to go to the request for performing arts proposals, okay? This is really important because we have 2 presenting houses which we're collaborating with for the festival. And we want to fill them with inclusive, innovative, professional performing arts offerings. What does that mean? It could look like a variety of things. We want you to use your imagination to create a proposal and send it to us. And then from those proposals, we will review them and we will let all of those know who will be selected through the request for performing arts proposals, what space we're proposing and when, if they are accepted. So Daryl, what do I need in my proposal? Same thing. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. How much, how many people, how many days, how many seats. Once we have that information, we can determine the best place to place you within the festival. We will do our best to place as many performing arts offerings as we can, but we are limited in space. As you all probably know, there are not a lot of performing arts spaces here in the city, unfortunately. And so we are working with a limited number of slots, but we will do our best, and I will personally do my best to ensure that we can place as many of the performing arts offerings as possible. So something to keep in mind for the request for performing arts proposals, and I see that question, we're going to jump to that in just a second. The final offer will be based on budget, schedule, availability, and if you could mute for 1 second, please, or if we can mute that person for 1 second. And accepting the terms and conditions set by Newark Arts Festival and the presenting organization. So we're going into other folks' houses. we have to play by their rules. So if they say that we can't bring in a full set for Aida, well, then we have to play by their rules. And so the criteria for selection for all of the requests for performing arts proposals is listed clearly on the website. Please, please, please take 5 minutes, pour yourself a cup of coffee and go through that, because we are going to follow that rubric. We're going to follow that rubric for the criteria for selection. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the session. There's one last way to get involved with the performing arts for Newark Arts Festival, and that is going to be through our upcoming open call. So if you say, you know what, Daryl, I'm not writing a proposal, I'm not getting on Google and creating a slideshow, I don't have time for that, then excellent. We're going to invite you all to come out to Newark, to a performing arts space. You'll have 3 minutes to audition, old school style audition. You bring your tape, your boombox, you bring your crew, whoever, and you'll be able to audition for us in person. And we will be placing folks from that audition into the festival based off of that in-person audition. So that's a great fun way, not only to show us who you are and what you can do, but to also meet other artists in the city and to connect with other folks who may be building and doing similar work around you. That date is not set yet, but we will have it available for you soon. And just know that it will take place this summer, summer 2023, let's say July-ish. And we'll have all that information for you. It'll be available on the website, newarkartsfestival.com, as well as the Newark Arts office will have that information as well. 3 ways, hopefully 3 ways to engage some interesting voices. And that's all I got. Thanks, Felicia.
Daryl, can you talk to the performing artists about your technical expectations and how much information they need to provide? How many mics do you need? What type of staging do you need? What type of lighting? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the easiest way that I can explain it is that you want to write your proposal in such a way that a stranger coming in off the street could read it and understand exactly what you're trying to do. So it's important not only to talk about the concept, but it's important to talk about the logistics. How much rehearsal time will you need? What will you need in terms of technical support? What does your audio, what does your scenic design, what is your lighting request? What does all of that look like? Because again, that will help us to determine the best possible presenting house and opportunity for you. So I would just say as much as you can, try to include as much of that into the proposal as possible. If we have questions about your proposal, we'll reach out to you, but it's best if you can just include as much of that proposal into your proposal. We're working with 2 houses. Felicia, is it okay if I say which 2 houses they are? Okay, so the first is.
We'll wait.
Okay.
So it's contracted.
So I won't say what they are, but just know it's 2 performing arts houses in Newark. And so the same way you will go to a place and ask them to do an event, we would need all of that same information, okay? Is that helpful?
And Daryl, less is not more is more. So the more detailed you are with your technical needs, the fewer surprises we'll have when we're actually in rehearsal with you. We don't want to be in a situation where you have an expectation that there will be 5 mics and there are only 3, or that you need a lavalier, a body mic, and we only have handheld or, mics that have cords. So the more details that you can provide, the better. Thank you, Daryl. Next up, we have our hip hop curators, Yendor. This part of our festival is still formulating, so they're just going to give a quick overview of what we have so far. And we have Andrew and Malcolm.
Going on, everyone?
Peace. How's everybody doing?
Afternoon. Good afternoon. Like Felicia said, details around the hip hop celebration element of this year's festival are very much in the works because it's super, super new. Obviously, this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So we're really looking to create something that celebrates the cultural impact and significance that hip hop has had on pretty much every facet of life as we know it right now in the society.
Especially since the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey has such a big influence on hip hop, period, or connection to hip hop from its inception all the way to where it is today. I think we want to focus on being able to bridge the gap from like the historical elements of hip hop all the way to what's happening today and some of the new developments within our own Jersey culture that's starting to bubble up in pop culture. So those are some of the generalized thoughts of what we would like to do, but we've been working with Councilman Kelly to kind of formalize some of the things and connections that he has with hip hop as a whole. You know, I think it's a very beautiful thing and a very new thing to bring to the Arts Festival.
We're also like excited to sort of show love and respect and give some of the flowers to some of the luminaries that have come from the city of Newark and have had significant cultural impact in hip hop. And you can kind of think of some of those people already, you know, those who are familiar. So there's some people that we want to definitely bring in as ambassadors. And we want to make sure that we're thinking about activating multiple wards, not just keeping it downtown. How do we make sure we show and spread that love to some of the outer wards of the city as well? And I think also, in addition to celebrating all the pillars of hip hop, so it's not just the music element that's important, but obviously MC is important. Obviously the graffiti is important. The break dance is important. So the DJ, all those elements, we want to make sure that we're shining a light on all four of the pillars of hip hop culture, as well as also we want to think about ways that we could, how do I say? I think also looking to the future now that we're 50 years in, and we can kind of reflect on what has happened over the 50 years and what are the changes and trends, really thinking about where are the places that we need to go, not just as an artistic form, but culturally and community-wise for the next 50 years. How do we begin to map out what the next 50 years of hip hop might need to be? And I think that's a part of that cross-cultural connection. How do we do that collectively?
And how do we share with our young Newarkers what the history of hip hop is in Newark and what the possibilities are for them to be able to enter that field? Like, we have pioneers here. We have KRS-One, who's not from Newark, but who's working in Newark right now, creating the Temple of Hip Hop. Like, there's a lot going on in hip hop in Newark, and some of our greatest performers have come from this area. So as hip hop goes forward and to take the culture back, we'd like to be able to show the children where they came from through this festival.
And, you know, not to, you know, just to piggyback, also our ability to learn from them too. There's a lot that they can also teach us as we continue to grow and serve them, because, you know, that next 50 years of hip hop is more their future than ours too. So there's definitely opportunities for exchange on both ends of the spectrum.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Regina's here. Regina, is there anything you want to chat about?
No, I'm just happy to see so many participants, you know, kind of joining. I'm glad that we're having this level of discussion like now in April. And, you know, it's all of the artists who really make Newark Arts Festival, you know, the rich experience that it is every year. And it's always innovative and something new and different. And it always grows and evolves. And for that, I'm really grateful to the community.
Thanks, Regina. So now we're going to open up the floor for questions. And I see that Bilal and Antoinette have questions. We'll start with you, Bilal.
My question was for entry points for young people. I know that you know, we host an amazing festival, that there's always opportunities within specific collectives of artists and curator organizations to work with young people. But are there explicit opportunities for high schoolers, maybe those disconnected from high school even, to get involved in Newark Arts Festival. Additionally, I just wanted to just encourage everyone to leverage the Summer Youth Employment Worksite. You can host your arts organization as a Summer Youth Employment Worksite, and that will allow all of us to tap in with our young people in a very intentional way as we're all developing our ideas. You can leverage young people in this process. You can still apply. I think the last day to be the 30th of this month. So yes, I'm sorry, I'm sharing information, ask questions at the same time. Is there an entry point already?
So we are hoping to be able to bring back Open Doors Kids, which would be the primary entry point. And so that's really the answer to your question. And everyone, please look at the chat, because Bilal has put his contact information there and also a website for you to refer to.
I also just want to share, Felicia, that the audition that takes place in the summer is all ages. So we hope to engage some kids as well, both younger age, like elementary, as well as secondary, post-secondary, et cetera. It will be open to all ages. Anyone will be able to come and participate. And I am hopeful that some high schoolers and even some middle schoolers might want to come out and show us what they've got. So that's specifically going to be for new voices like theirs. Great question though, thank you.
And we do partner with, our co-located initiative, which is Arts at Newark, to help facilitate Open Doors Kids, and also with Newark Public Schools and Greater Newark Conservancy. So yeah, the resounding answer is yes. There is a hope for encouraging young people to really participate.
Antoinette.
Thank you. This is really exciting. To the hip hop folks, I know it's still in conceptualization phase. Are we considering visual work, or is it performative, or how do people become engaged in this? I'm not sure I really understand. I know that you said all of the areas will be represented, but is it part of the RFP, or is there something else we should be looking for?
I think it's a little different in that I don't think that there's going to be as formal an open call for hip hop submissions, but there's definitely overlap between what's happening on the visual arts in space that Adrian is curating, and the performing arts space that Daryl's curating. At least thematically, I think there'll be overlap. I think what we're doing is really thinking about how do we create something that encompasses all four pillars of hip hop and connects to this anniversary celebration. But I do think that because it's in development, there'll be overlap and there'll be developments. And I think we'll see branches of these things that are happening in this space connecting to what's happening on all the other spaces of the festival.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if Felicia wanted to chime in on that anymore, or she just nodding.
You covered it.
Okay.
Beautifully, thank you. Any other questions?
I wanted to add something. Oh, okay. While I am the lead curator for Newark Arts, I have a co-curator for the festival, and she's Atika Ali, and she is the curator of Arts of Global Asia at the museum. So when the selections are made, just know that that was a collaborative effort and not just me.
Adrian, can you talk about the spaces that we have in the museum this year?
Yeah, so last year, for those who were able to attend, we were in the special exhibition space on the second floor in the museum. So this year we have that space. We also have Traphagen, which is the long wall on the first floor, just opposite the court. And then we have the niches that flank the doors, the entry to not the south wing entry, but the front entry to the museum. And the area that leads out to the garden. So we have a lot of additional space, and we're really very excited about that. Not just that it's space, but also it's increased visibility because it's on the main floor, also on the main floor of the museum.
Any other questions? This is not
I'm
your
sorry,
only opportunity. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm got that. I couldn't find a raise hand button for some reason. I'm spacing, but I did have a question regarding if whether or not fringe genres of hip hop were going to be included in the performance arts section, or if they could be considered being included, because I happen to be a nerdcore artist, and I was wondering if that could be incorporated somehow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like hip hop is more than one format. So we want all formats to be represented so that people can see themselves in these performances. So absolutely, it's up to you. That's why we left the theme very open, because we know there are forms of hip hop and cross-cultural perspectives that we may not be familiar with. So by all means, it is not restrictive. It's meant to be as open as possible and to make sure that you are able to be creative in the way that you prefer and that represents you and your artist collective or yourself best. So yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I had a question, and forgive me if I misinterpreted or maybe this was answered before, but it's for the hip hop section, since you're still figuring this out, am I able to apply to both? Like for the hip hop as well as apply for the performing arts? Is that going to be two separate applications or?
Two separate, right, Daryl? Two separate submissions?
Yeah, so I do hear the question though, because I feel like a few people are kind of framing the same question. Here's what I would recommend to you. I would recommend that you get your stuff into the festival, period. If we feel like, if I read a proposal and I feel like, you know what, this is really in the land or in the world of what they're doing with the hip hop curation, I will forward that information over to that group of curators. But I do think it's important, especially if you have an idea that you really, really feel connected to, just go ahead and submit it through the request for performing arts. We will read it, we will review it. And if we feel like it's not in the right place, we will get it to the right place. Okay, so don't let that trouble you.
Oh no, I just have two different proposals, that one that would be really great for hip hop, and I have my own thing that I do as well. So that's all. I'm just being greedy.
So send them all. Yes, send them all. Give us something to read for sure. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else?
There's a question in, oh.
Yeah, I put a question in the chat, and I think I got an answer, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. So, and we're in the West Ward, which is the ward where our councilman is.
Yes, yes. We're excited about all wards, but we know there's a lot of hip hop and a lot of art in the West Ward. So Councilman Kelly will help us with that.
Okay, now,
And yes, if you have a space, Gail, we would love to see the West Ward activated, please.
Okay, so we want to do that. So that's why I asked the question. So how do we get involved with doing that?
Send your proposal.
Okay.
Send your proposal.
We have been a part of the festival in the last 3 years, so I just was getting the impression this year you're not going as much in the wards until you said that, but then you didn't tell us any more information. You're kind of teasing us with that, so.
On purpose. But we are working on the wards for sure.
Hey,
because we're very focused on the central ward last year, and we know that a lot of people weren't able to come down. So we've got to go out into the wards this year. And Monifa, you're definitely looking for sprung floors. It was really hard last year, although we presented a dance company in the museum. It was difficult to find floors, but we have more time this year. So yes, we have to have a sprung floor because my knees hurt from dancing on non-sprung floors for a long time. So definitely, Monifa, we are thinking about that. And just make sure that you put that, I mean, if it's dance, we're gonna we're gonna know that we need a sprung floor. Anyone else? Any burning questions?
Yes, I'm curious about the date of the submissions for the Newark Museum.
Mhm.
When would you like the submissions?
By June 1st, is that correct, Adrian?
Yes, the call is open now and the deadline is June 1st.
Thank you
And-
very much.
Yes, and all calls close June 1st.
Thank you.
Yes, Rachel, if we are able to do Open Doors Kids, we're trying to create some continuity, and it would be on a Saturday.
Aisha has her hand raised.
Yes, good afternoon. I didn't want to interrupt anyone. Thank you so much for having this info session. I just have a question about myself as a fine artist participating. I currently live in New York. I worked in Newark for a while. I'm back in New York City now, and I just wanted to know, is this opportunity open to non-Newark residents?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Adrian, there's a question about a 3D art creation from
Okay.
Lorna Reed. Lorna, do you want to just ask the question?
Lorna, are you on?
Hi, yes, hi, sorry about that. Yeah, I missed the first 25 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking with work on a call. Is photography an accepted medium?
Yes.
Okay, is there are there requirements like format, megapixels or anything like that, or framing?
Well, all work has to be framed. It has to be framed and ready to hang.
Okay, any size is allowed?
Any size is allowed to be submitted, and then we make our own determinations as to what will work in a given space.
Right, okay. And the other question was, what about some type of creative, like 3D, like a photo box or,
So when you're saying 3D, you're saying a photo box, you're meaning something that you're looking down on, or are you talking about three-dimensional as in sculpture and viewing in the round? Or
okay, yeah, I have an idea. It's something I've never done. I'll give it a shot maybe. Using, so maybe not 3D, but like some type of, it would be framed, but like maybe like a collage of images, raised to some type of creativity with using photos. I can't
Okay.
explain it.
Yeah, I would say create and submit.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds within the realm for sure.
Okay, great. And the last question I have is, I heard there were 3 types of ways to get in. I missed one. I heard submit a proposal, the open call. What was the third one?
The third one was a good old fashioned audition, but since you're a visual artist, I don't know if you're ready quite yet to audition for us, but that's more so for performers.
Oh, okay. I do write poetry. So it would fall into that category then, right?
Absolutely. Well, you should come out and see us for the open auditions. We'd love to hear some of your poetry.
Oh, okay. Great. Everything's on the website?
Yes.
These dates? Okay. And that's the Newark Arts
Festival.
Okay. All right, great. And the last comment I have is, thank you for creating this space for Newark, for New Jersey, for everyone.
Thank you, Lorna. This is, I say this all the time, like this festival is our love letter to you. You give so much to us, and we're doing our best to be able to present you, highlight you, showcase you, and celebrate you. So we are grateful for you all. Trust me. Daryl, Can you answer the question from Deshaun? He says, for solo shows, are you requesting full scripts or will a proposal / pitch suffice?
Hi, Deshaun. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. We don't need the full script. If you can just give us a detailed synopsis of the plot of the solo show, that should suffice. My only request is that if you are using other folks' words or music, that you also include that in the key collaborators so that we can make sure that there are no legal discrepancies. But otherwise, just a short synopsis will do.
And Daryl, Charles is asking, once RFPs are submitted, what is the process to then get it approved? Are there Q&A sessions with submitters?
Awesome. Great question, Charles. The deadline is the same as the visual proposal, our open call, which is June 1st. So everything needs to be in by June 1st. Once we receive all of the applications, proposed projects on June 1st, we will review them through a multi-step review led by myself as well as other curators from the museum and Newark Arts team. And then we will make the announcement, hopefully in tandem with the visual artist. There's no Q&A at this time. If we read a proposal and there are questions that we have, I will definitely email you personally to ask you to clarify information. But for the most part, we want you to try to include as much of that as possible into your proposal. It will be reviewed and then we'll make a decision. And we encourage, again, even if we say, look, we don't have the space for you, we encourage self-production. We want to see as many offerings as possible.
Thank you, Daryl. And thank you for that question, Deshaun. Charles. And Brian, you have a question.
Yes, hello, thank you. I have a question about visual arts and the themes. If I remember correctly, if I heard correctly, there are 2 suggested themes for visual arts, the cross-cultural perspectives and the celebration of the 50 years of hip hop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or, okay. Are those the 2 required themes, or are we allowed to submit themes outside of those?
Well, we're not asking for themes, but
Okay.
Your work doesn't have to be defined so tightly by hip hop or cross-cultural perspectives. As I said before, cross-cultural perspectives we felt gave the artist the greatest amount of flexibility in terms of work that they would be submitting. No one would be under pressure to create work just for the festival, but you have the option of creating work for the festival. So, but we're not looking for additional themes.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have one final question as far as a proposal for performing arts. Is there a length? Is that listed there as well? That should be considered in the proposal, or is it just generally submitting what it is we want to do? Or do you have an idea what the chunks of time would look like?
That's a hard question because I don't want to limit you to your concept. What I will say is anything over 2 hours is going to be really difficult to program.
I mean, just like as a performance, like one.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would try to keep it under 2 hours if possible. We've had 30-minute solo shows. We've had hour-long concerts. We've had hour-and-a-half solo shows. We've had full play readings, 75 minutes. It just really depends on what you're trying to do. But I would say if you could keep it under 2 hours, that's important because you need to tech in the space as well. And the folks who are going to be working on the productions need a chance to learn it. And the longer it is, the harder it is to support it. So I would just keep that in mind.
Okay, and that's as far as I'm thinking of the things that the spaces you all have. That was really more the things for that. So, okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to factor that in.
So Shakira has a question. Hi, Kyle. How would we submit an interactive art piece? Shakira, do you want to jump on the mic and explain what you're talking about? Where's Shakira? Shakira, are you there? Okay.
Sarah, be sure to unmute yourself.
Because we're not sure exactly what you mean by interactive. Okay, well, maybe you'll just shoot us a question.
Yeah.
Leslie Ann.
Hi, I just kind of want to speak for Shakira because I was kind of thinking along the same lines. As a performing artist with a background in dance, it's pretty obvious where to apply my work. But as someone who's kind of experimental in performance art, which is along the lines of like interactive, like immersive spaces. I think that's sort of what she's speaking to, which often it's like, is this visual or is this performing? It kind of crosses both genres.
So I think in the museum, you would not be able to have an interactive art piece. So you would apply through the performing arts call instead of at the museum. But obviously, if you have a performance piece and it has some sort of visual component or a small set, like that can be included. But in the museum, we couldn't do something like that. Anything else before we close out? Going once, going twice. Well, thank you, artists of Newark and beyond. We love you, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to meet you if we haven't met you already. Thank you to the Newark Arts team and to my board member, Key Tab, to all the staff members of Newark Arts. Thank you. And we look forward to receiving your submissions and welcoming you to the festival. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.